So welcome to the webinar today. I'm excited to present the VividCharts 2.0 release that we had. It came out a couple weeks ago, so it's in the store and ready for you to install into your instance. There are a lot of things in the release, so I'm going to hit the high points. We call them big rocks, so they're the big feature changes and improvements to the application first. Don't be afraid to ask questions as we go along. I've been using this software for months now, so some of these things feel second nature to me, but please ask questions if you have any questions on the things that I'm demonstrating. I do want to point out, let me see if I can close that. I do want to point out one thing here before we get started, because I'm going to be working through this, and that's our release notes. So if you want to monitor and keep track of the releases and all the features, if you go to our website, go under resources and customer support, you always can find our changelog and release notes there. With every release, we have a YouTube playlist. We have all the notes and links to all the knowledge base articles that go along with it. For those who have never met me, my name is Gary Ditsch, and I'm the Chief Product Officer here at VividCharts. So I've probably talked to some of you talking about these very exact features that I'm going to demonstrate. Let's go ahead and start with maybe the biggest change that we have in VividCharts. So if you've never been in the application before, this is the home screen. I'm actually in a collection that I have set up here for this. In VividCharts 2.0, one of the things that we enabled people to do was create themes. So we'll show you exactly how this feature functions, and then probably talk about some of the values here. But as you can see, I have a pretty basic just setup here just for the demo of the themes, but some simple colors, some simple text elements, and a header here. What has happened in the past is if you wanted to make a new slide for your report and you wanted to include the same colors, the same font types, and those types of things that weren't the default font types or the font colors that were out of the box, you would probably make a copy of the whole slide and edit the chart, or you'd make a copy of the slide and delete the chart and rebuild a new chart. And we realized that was pretty time consuming to have to make all those edits time and time again. So in this version, we now have the ability to create themes, and it depends on your role. So in VividCharts application, we have the VividCharts admin role, and then we have the VividCharts builder role. As a builder, you will have themes and access to themes up here. When you click on it, you'll see the themes that are available to you. And as a builder, you would be able to click the apply button. And so in this case, I'm just gonna click this theme. I actually not 100% sure what it will look like. Yeah, so you can see that this changed the background color, changed the bar colors so that they're not even viewable, and etc. on the second slide. But you can see that all those colors, all those styles that were part of that theme were applied to every chart, to every element, and to every slide. So it's a really great opportunity as a builder or as an admin of your kind of reporting process to go and generate themes that your builders can use to help create some of the consistency. So one of the things we talk about with customers all the time is having some sort of standard, some sort of consistent theme for your reporting so it's easy to evaluate the quality of them. I'm going to go back into themes. I'm going to apply this one. And now you can see that that is the theme I had set up. I wanted it to be a dark color and have this greenish color for the bars. And again, it applied everywhere that I wanted it to be, or onto all the slides. Now, what can be part of a theme? The short answer to this is literally everything that you have styles. I'll go through setting up styles here, but let's go over first the setting up a new theme. If I'm an admin, like I said, which I have the VC admin role here, I can go into themes and I can go add themes. Now, out of the box, a theme has these default settings. So I can give it, I'll just say demo webinar theme. So I can give it a name. We have just these different properties that are part of the default. So like background color on the theme is white. If I wanted to change that, I could click on it and change one of my, or select one of my colors here. Primary color, primary palette, I can select them and make edits to them. I'll go through all the details of what's in here in just a second. But the point here is I could go ahead and just save this. And now I have a new theme that's available to be used. And in this case, it's just using all the out of the box options for theme settings. That's probably not what you want, though. You probably want your own branding colors and all those details. So I could go into edit theme. So for example, if I have my own primary palette that I want, or the palette that I want to use most of the time, I could click on it. I could select the value here, and then I can select, let's say, sunrise. And now I can make that the palette that is used whenever a primary palette option is being used in any of my styles. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. I'll save it. And then I'll just apply this theme just so you can see. Let's see, it's this, let's see, demo theme here, this one here. And you'll see how that made things change. So that new palette color is what's being chosen. So let's talk a little bit. I'm going to go back to the one that actually looks okay. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what's inside here. Most likely you're going to have styles that don't fit inside of just one of the out of the box styles. So what you can do is you can add your own style. So we could say, maybe I want my shape color. So I want to set a theme option that says every shape color has to use the certain background color that I want it to be chosen for. So I'm going to say shape color. I'm going to say I want it to be a single color. Because I chose single color as the type that this style has, I can now select value. In this case, let's do something really different so it sticks out. We'll say that yellowish. And now what you need to also do is give it a path. This is a little bit technical, but I do want to show you just so you can see how versatile this is. So here, options path tell your theme where to apply that style. So I could have a single color and it could be applied to many different things. Or in this case, I'd want it to apply only to shape color. How do I determine where that shape color is? I'm going to show you. If you go into, let's go ahead. I'm going to close this here. Close that. We'll save it. And I'll come back here in a second. I'm going to click on the shape. So I have a big gray rectangle up here. If I go into the style menu, you're going to see colors, border styles. If I go into colors, you can see that shape color is one of those options. Now, how do I know what to set in that options path to have that shape color here? In our resources, in our knowledge base, if you go into chart styles, you're going to see documentation for all of those types of things. And so if I look for shape, yeah, so we have shape elements, colors. If I click on that, it's going to say I have shape color and border color. Again, that was what we saw here. So we have shape color, border color, and I want the shape color to be a part of the theme. So I can go copy this option path. And then I'm going to go back and add that to the styling of that theme. So we'll go back in here. I'm going to open up that theme again. I'm going to edit that theme. We're going to add a style like we did before. I'll say shape color so that I know specifically what it's doing. I want a single color. We're going to select that yellow color again. We'll select this yellow color. And then I'm going to add a path and paste that path that I just found. I'm going to hit close and we're going to save it. Okay, so now as part of that theme, if I go and apply that theme, I'm going to close it here. I'm going to go save my report just for safekeeping. And then I'm going to go into themes and I'm going to hit demo webinar theme. I'm going to hit apply and okay. I think I probably selected the wrong thing here. Going to go choose that theme again, theme styles, and apply it. So you can start to see how you can build out your themes by adding your own and various different styles. Let's go into here. So if I wanted a different primary color or a different palette here, like I said, so instead of this green color for these bars, I could select that color and let's just select that one. Now I can apply that color palette to the theme. We'll hit save. So here, the bars are all the single color, the first option in the palette, but here my pie chart uses the first and second color. So now if I go into themes, I go and select and apply that because I changed it, you can see that now those styles have changed and also these styles have changed. So again, it gives you a ton of flexibility in making a theme to be used across all your reports. So as an admin, you can set up your company brand marketing theme or your maybe SLA reporting theme or your incident reporting theme, things like that. However, you may have that designed inside of your organization and keep a consistent pattern so builders don't have to constantly think about setting all the styles, the font types and colors and things like that. I'm going to stop there, see if there's any questions. I don't see any coming in. So I'm going to go back out to my collection here. So again, one of the things that we did in this release is we wanted to provide a bunch of tools that allow builders to be more efficient, building these reports that also allowed them to keep styles consistent across different reports. So themes was one of them, and I just showed the real basics part of that. I want to also show this next one, which is applying styles to all chart types. So in the themes that you saw, so when we were doing this, notice when, actually I didn't call that out, so let me do this one more time. I'm going to say apply this theme. Notice that you get this notification that says, do you want to apply this theme? Because all existing styles will be affected. What that means is when I click OK, any style that I applied to a chart across the entire report was updated based to that theme. So it overwrites anything that I may have done before. So if I came into this, customized it, actually, let me just go ahead and show that. I'll just customize this single chart with that there. If I go back in, notice that this still follows the theme. If I go back in and select that theme again, it will overwrite that change that I just made. So themes always overwrite anything that had been there previously. So it is why we give this message saying you make sure that you're okay with everything on this theme being applied. So that theme was reapplied. But notice that it changed both my vertical bar chart. It also changed my pie chart. If I had any other chart types on there, it also would change. That is okay sometimes. Sometimes we do have a marketing brand colors that we want to apply everywhere, and that's fine. Sometimes I'm building a report, and then again, this is just a very basic report with 3 scores and a horizontal bar chart on it. And I want to update these 3 charts, but I don't want to touch, the horizontal bar. So maybe I wanted to change the way these were oriented, or maybe I wanted to add, in this case, let's add a container to these, but I wanted the white background on this, so I don't want to add a container to it. So one of the things that we've done is we've given this new capability that says apply all charts of same type. So in this case, I have 3 charts that are the same type, and it would impact all of those. So let's do a demonstration of that. I'm going to go into style. Let's go ahead and just say we want the title below. We'll go to container styles and we'll say a background color. We'll make it gray. No, that's not gray. And we'll even increase the size of the title because I want the title. Whoops. Let's make it even more prominent than that. And we'll bold it. Okay. Historically, let's say I liked this look and I wanted these little containers around every one of these charts. Historically, what you would have to do then is go in and change this one, go change this one, and go change this one. But that takes a little bit of time, and sometimes it's frustrating. Typically, where this happens is, let's say you build a report as a builder, you take it to your stakeholders, and they're like, I like this chart and the data that's there, but I want it looking like this. So as a builder, you have to go back in and edit the report and meet those requirements, and it's a little bit time consuming. With this release, I can go now into the style. I could hit apply to all charts of same type. Again, we say are you sure you want to apply to all score charts? I say yes. And immediately all those charts are updated. And those would be updated on any score chart that was on this report, whether it's on this slide or if I had another slide with additional score charts there. So again, we're just trying to make it super easy for builders to have consistent, but then also take away some of the monotony of changing font styles on every single chart in this case. Now, this showed a way to update all existing charts, but what if I wanted to always have new chart types or new charts that I built with the score chart type to always have this as the default style instead of having to then reapply like this style again to everything? We also provided that capability. So I'm going to hit save there. I'm going to go back out into my collection. I have a chart type. Let's see. We have chart type default settings. So let's go into that one. Okay. So I chose an example that we see pretty commonly. So one of our very commonly used chart types is this field selector chart. And in fact, when we do like project status reports, you can see dozens of these charts on a single slide, on a single report. And so historically, again, you would have to build the chart, style it, build the chart, style it. And once you've put 5 to 15 fields on a slide, that becomes, again, tedious. But let's go ahead and change this up a little bit. I'm just going to do something similar to what I did previously. I'll give it a background color. I'm going to remove the cell border. We're going to we'll go into label formatting. We're going to increase that to something I can read. We'll make it bold, and we'll change the value into something that's even bigger because the value is what's important here. And we'll just put the value on top. I don't like that, actually. We'll take it off. And let's just say we'll remove the title there. Okay. So again, in the previous one, if I had multiple field selectors on here, I could just grab this thing and hit apply to all. But what if I really liked this? This is not something I would say, but let's say I really liked this and I wanted all my new field type or field selector type charts to always use this. What I can do is I can hit style. Actually, just to prove that doesn't happen now, let me go into charts. I'll do field selector and I'll just select something really. I'm just gonna build a very simple field selector. And we'll just say number. Just going to put one field on there for now, just so you can see. Okay, so you can see this is like the default setting. This is what this was prior to the styling. But let's say I like these and I want new field selector types to always use this style after I've spent the time styling it. What I can do now is I could go into style. I could save this as the chart type defaults. So I'm going to do that. I'll confirm that I want it. And now I'll go in and build this exact same chart. And I'm going to hit save. We'll say that. We'll put the exact same field on it. And it is, I said number, and I'll hit save and save. So you can see, again, that chart isn't looking great, but you can see that this is using the styles that I saved as the default type. So again, it allows the builder to create some sort of standard that they want and then be used. Now, one thing I will point out is themes can be applied to many different reports. When you go in and set these features, so if you apply to all of the same chart type, it's applying to all of those charts on this report. So it's report specific, and same with the chart type defaults. These defaults will be true for this report, but when you go to a new report, those defaults will be back to the original defaults. And so these defaults are for that report. Any questions on that? Okay. One thing I want to point out, you've noticed that like in building this chart and this chart, one thing that happened here was I had to rebuild the chart. So I wanted this exact information, but I went in, I hit chart, I had to set the data type, I had to set the styles, etc. One thing that we've been asked for many times is, can we do copy paste? So let's maybe go into something that looks a little bit better. I'm going to go into, let's see. Let's go into this chart. So this is, we've been working a lot with SLA data and with our customers, and we actually have a new report source on our website that looks somewhat similar to this on reporting on SLAs. But one thing that you notice is like every slide on this has essentially, it has a footer, has 3 charts and a background shape. So one thing that people have asked is, how would you be able to create a consistent header? Well, in the past, again, what you would probably do is you would copy the slide and then delete all the contents. But that seemed like an unnecessary step. So one thing that you can do now is when you start having a lot of elements on here, sometimes it gets a little crowded. So one thing that we also added here is an element tree. So this will show me all the different elements on this slide, allows me to select them. So in this case, I have the square, I have the chart. So if I wanted to copy all 4 of those, I could just select all 4 of these, and then I could hit my Command C. I'm going to close out here, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out. I'm going to add a new blank slide. And in this new blank slide, I'm just going to hit Command V. I'm going to paste the elements. Now what it's doing here is it's pasting both the elements and the styles and everything, but it also went and collected the data for those too. So that's why it took a second or two for the paste to happen. So hopefully that is pretty exciting. I know it's something that we've been asked for an awful lot. Again, I can, if I wanted just the square, I could do Command C there, come in and do Command V. Now, one thing that you will notice is that if you paste it on the same slide, this element retains all the style information. So it's the position, it was also retained, and that's why it overlapped. Again, that's why the element tree is pretty helpful. I actually hit Command V twice, it looks like. And so it pasted twice there. So that's why, having the element tree is actually pretty nice too. So I'm going to just delete that one and come back in here. So I've showed how I can copy and paste onto a new slide. I've showed how I could copy and paste on the same slide and move it around and adjust it. But one other thing that you can also do, let's say I got a chart. Let's go grab this chart. Let's just grab this one. And let's say I liked this chart, but I have another report for another group of stakeholders. I want to put this on slide 3 or something of that report. And I already have it built, so I don't want to make a copy of the whole report and delete things. One thing I can do is I can select this chart, show that it's selected here. I can select this chart. I'm going to hit Command C. I'm going to go out into VividCharts. Whoops. Let's save this so I don't lose my changes. I'm going to go out into VividCharts. I'm going to create a new slide deck here. And in this, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command V. And so that chart with the data settings and the style settings all came over from that previous report. So again, seems fairly simple and maybe something that you would have liked to had sooner, but it's pretty powerful because you're going to be able to create charts, share them across different reports, share them across different slides. And even one way that is really common for me to start using this is if I go back into here, I'll save this. And I'm going to go back into that report that I had, the SLA performance report. A very common place for me to use this is when I have charts like this that I just need a little adjusting. I'll select it, I'll copy it, move off over here, I'll paste it. It's collecting the data to paste that. And then I'll grab it, I'll move it over. And in this case, it's on the same table and everything. All I really needed to do is change conditions to get my new score. So I'll go in here, I'll change conditions. So maybe it has breached is true, and we'll hit save. And now I already had that chart, but it makes building like iterations of charts with different counts and different data very simple, because not only is the styles being copied, but the data settings are being copied, which is very helpful. Again, just providing many ways for builders and people creating reports to keep consistency, to be more efficient, and make a lot of the tedious work that maybe they've had to do in the past around some of these reports go away. Okay. Any questions coming up? Doesn't look like I have any, so I'm going to keep going. Let's take a look at the release notes. So we did report themes, we did copy and paste. I showed you how to apply new styles across all the charts and showed you how to set default settings. I want to go and show this other very big improvement we've had, and it has to do with moving reports from one instance to another. So the workflow that we have been asked to help customers with is let's just go into this chart or this report. I have this report. I'm the builder and I built this in my dev instance. So now we need to move this report into our test instance. And when it's in my test instance, we need to test it. And then I need to be able to move this into my production instance. And so we do have an update set packager that customers use. But we've also been asked if we could find a way to help make this a little bit easier of a process and workflow. So we definitely did that in this release. I'm currently a builder and the admin, and I have ServiceNow admin on this instance. The reason why that's important, and I'll point this out as we go, is ServiceNow admins have certain capabilities that builders won't have. And I want to be specific here. It's the ServiceNow admin that has these additional capabilities. It's not the VividCharts admin who has these additional capabilities. But let's say I'm the builder and I have built this report, and now I need to make sure it gets into the test instance so we can test it up. What I can do is I can go into the three-dot menu over here. And when I click on that, I now have a couple other, in this case, as the builder, I would only have mark for export. The ServiceNow admin has export to JSON and import from JSON. But in this case, what I want to do is make this known that it's ready for exporting and moving. So I'm going to click mark for export and hit OK. I'm going to go back out into, so as a builder, that is what I would do. That's essentially the end of the process for me. I'm going to go back into my homepage. ServiceNow admins have this new tab inside of their homepage in VividCharts. It says marked for export. Think of this as a task list of items that may be ready to be moved from one instance to another. As a ServiceNow admin, I would come in and I could see that Gary created this and it's ready for moving because they marked it. I can go into the editor. And again, you saw the options I had before. If I click on that, I can export this to JSON. And you can see that this download SLA Performance AI demo came up. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my download folder. And I'll pull this over here. You can see that I now have that. I'm going to go ahead, just drag this in here. Now, what that did is it exported this. It exported all the styles and all the settings for the report. It doesn't do anything with the data or anything like that. It's just all the information that we need in order to build the report in a new instance, and the style settings and placement settings and font styles and all that information that needs to happen. So I'm going to go ahead. This is a non-filterable slide deck. When I go into here, as a ServiceNow admin, if I click on the create new, they will have this option down here that says, if you have a VividCharts JSON export, you can import it here. So in this case, I'm going to import it. I'm going to go select that file that I just showed you, my downloads, which is here. And I'm going to hit open, and then we're going to hit submit. And what that does is it creates that report and then allows that report now to live in the new instance. The nice thing is that in the new instance, it will do a data query and populate the charts with all the new data, etc. So you can see here, this one is the one that it has the exact same name because I imported it to the exact same instance. And so that's why you see two here. But if I go look at this one, which is the one that I just imported at 1637, if I go to the editor, you'll see it's the exact same report. So again, that's something that we've been asked to help make easier, is that getting reports that are built in lower instances easier to be moved into other instances for the progression of their workflows. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. Any questions about how that works or what capabilities users do or do not have? Okay. Like I said, we've been working on SLA data quite a bit lately. And so one of the outcomes of that was this SLA table that we had. It's a custom it's a chart type that is purpose built. And so reporting on SLAs is something that customers talk to us a lot about, and we have conversations about quite often. And so we help them with that process. And one thing that we found was pretty consistent was having a chart that was able to report on SLAs in a fairly easy way. And so what we built was this chart here. It's the SLA table. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a new slide here. And if I go into charts and we type SLA, you'll see that SLA table is the chart type. It takes a little bit of setting up, and I'll show you those here. And then I'll show you styling options too. So when you go in here, you're going to have first conditions, and the knowledge base helps with this, and so does the video on YouTube. So you don't have to remember this, what I tell you exactly right now, but this is for your achieved column. And then your second conditions are added to the first conditions to get your total column. This will make more sense when I go through it. Okay, so let's just say our achieved, if we have has breached, is false, means that we were successful on that. And then I'm just going to say, I want total SLAs. So in order to get total, I would say has breached is true. And essentially, I'm getting all of my SLA records back from the SLA or from the task SLA table. The successful ones are the false, and then we add our failed ones to get our total. I'm going to go ahead and leave, let's see, we'll say group by, I'm going to use SLA definition. And so that each row is one of my SLA definitions. Date range, we'll say this year. Date field, we'll say start time, which is a field on that SLA, task SLA table. Trend, I'm going to say month. Limit, I'm going to say 100, even though I'm not exactly sure how many we got. I'm going to hit save, and you can see immediately what I get is that table, very similar to the one that we had on the slide above here. Now you can see that there are some styling options here that weren't present on this one. So let's go ahead and set those up. First of all, I personally am colorblind, so the green is fairly impossible for me to figure out. So I'm going to go in here. And one thing that we want to do is populate these thresholds. So under style, if we go to SLA styles, you can see every SLA definition has its own label override and threshold. To make this simple, I'm going to say that our threshold for each of these is 90. And you'll start to see in the background here some colors popping up. Now, what this doing is it's styling each of those months that did or didn't meet this threshold that I'm putting in there. Probably should have chose a lower number, but that's okay. There we go. So you can see that just by adding those thresholds, you can see the threshold over here. And now I have these colored because they didn't meet the threshold. Again, I'm colorblind, so this is really hard for me to style. So I can go into SLA styles. I'm going to go down here, and we have the ability, green box color. I actually have a colorblind capable style here. And then empty, I'm just going to turn empty black. So now I have something I can read that shows me pretty quickly at a glance, are we achieving our SLAs in the aggregate? Are we achieving them month by month? You can see the months that we aren't achieving them. You can also see months where we don't have any data for SLAs. And so again, Historically, this has been something that takes quite a bit of time and a fair amount of work to get the data capable of being able to get styled this way. And so we built this chart type specifically to solve that problem. There's a few other features here in the style, so I want to show you those because I think there's some things I would currently add here too. If we go down here, you can show empty cell text, which basically means if there's no data, to put the no data text in there. I don't need that. It's a little distracting. I do want to show here, we're only showing if we failed the percent, but I actually want to show it if we achieved it. So I can see when we achieved it, how much did we achieve it by? And you also can turn off those columns, which are the achieved and total, if you don't want those added in there and you only want the achieved column. But I actually like to see those values here too. So again, there's a lot of flexibility here. If the SLA definitions don't meet what you really want to call them in the reporting side of this, you could come in here and you can override those headers to our primary SLA, for example, and we could put a value in there. And it allows you to do all of that. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And I will stop. Now I know that setting this up, especially setting the conditions, when you're setting up first condition, second conditions, again, I want to point out that the conditions and the count of this being true is what populates the achieved column. And then when we go in here and hit second conditions, this value of counting what meets these conditions plus what meets the first conditions is what gives us total. So in this case, these are the ones that did not breach, and then we added the ones that did breach. So we can see here that we had 2 that breached, we had 1 that breached, and you can start seeing months that we have breaches that put us below our thresholds. So I think this chart type is one that's been a long time coming, and I think our customers are going to like it. We're happy to talk to you about specific things there. I am paying attention to the time. I got one more chart addition that I would love to show you because I think it's one thing that we've been asked for quite a bit, and it will help you reporting on similar things about meeting and thresholds and your KPIs and OKRs, things like that around different metrics. But I also want to save at least a couple minutes here towards the end to show you something about what's next. So I would encourage you again, I'm going to show you the combo chart addition that we made, but I would again encourage you to go check out the release notes, read through them. Again, all these with links have knowledge base articles to support them. And then there's the YouTube playlist that you can go to and look at a lot of these. Okay, so I'm going to save this one. Then we're going to go out. Let's go here. We'll go to my collection for this demonstration. And I will show you the combo chart multiplier. Okay, so a very simple chart. And this is mostly to demonstrate the capability here, not necessarily saying this is a great chart. But in this case, I have a combo chart created. If we go in here, I have a vertical bar chart and I have a line chart. They're both using the task SLA table. Again, we've been working quite a bit with that data, so we have it just to show you. Now I want to show you the purpose of this here. What we had was customers saying, I want to see how many of our SLAs did we meet for that month. And then I want to have the target. So in this case, it's 90% target. I can see that the target is the line because, I have the color here and it says target, and then we achieved the green bars. I can see as long as the bar is above the target line, it's pretty easy to see if I did or didn't meet our SLA target for that month. So we met it. March, we did not meet it. We met it. In June, we did not meet it. So again, it just is a visual that customers are wanting to have. And so we added a feature on the combo chart that allowed this to be quite easily created. And let me show you how to set this up. When you go into your different charts that you created, in this case, our target is the line chart. So I'm going to show you there. I'm going to edit it. We're using the task SLA. Now these conditions are set by the bar chart, so I don't need to change those. I select the same information that I have for the bar chart, but I don't have any conditions here. So on the bar chart, I said only SLAs that the has breached was false. Now on this one, what this allows me to do is use all of my SLAs, but what I have is a metric which is 90% or 0.9 of our total SLAs, which is our threshold. So in this case, I turn on the use multiplier, I add the value here, and in fact, I'm going to change this value just to show you what it does. Let's say our goal is not 90%, let's say it's 50%. Doubt it'll ever be that, but let's just say it is so we can see it change. And then I hit save. And now when I hit save, we could see that 50% of all SLAs is the target now. Now, what I could do also is I have some style options. So I could go into my legend, I have my style options, I could hit target, and I could put that value in here so that people know what that value represents. I'll say total SLA. So I'll just go ahead and save that like that. So again, it's a very simple chart to set up. It is also something that many customers have wanted, is being able to set some sort of dynamic threshold line that we haven't had in the past. Previously in the past, all we had was a threshold, which was a straight horizontal line, for example. Okay, gonna see if I have any questions here. And gonna hit save. I don't have any questions. One thing that I will call out, since I have an extra minute or two, is, actually, let me just go into the example, because I already have the example set up, is label truncation. So historically, open that up. Okay, so historically, we have had customers come to us and say, hey, I have a container around this horizontal bar or any chart, and my labels overstretch the boundaries of that container. And it would cause problems if, for various reasons, especially if you had a container around it. So we did a bunch of improvements to all the chart types to solve for that problem. And just to demonstrate that, I'm going to go into my axis labels, and we're going to go into our Y labels. And I'm just going to put in a custom label here. Label is very long and would have historically written you get the idea. So as the labels get really long, we now account for it. And you can see at a certain point, it starts to truncate, which is about 50%. And you can see as I make that smaller, you can see that everything starts to truncate. Now, right there is where it starts to truncate. I personally would want it to truncate a little bit earlier so that my visual has a little bit more room. And the nice thing is in our style menu, if you go into your data labels, you now have the ability to change the Y-axis truncation threshold. So I can change that up and down. Whoops, if I grab the right control, I can now change that. So I can set where I want those labels to truncate. So if labels are super important, I could give them more space. If I really want more visual and truncating the labels, fine, I can give it less space, and it's up to you. So I know historically that's been a real challenge for customers. And so now we've solved that in multiple ways and give you a lot of control over that. Okay, I am going to jump into the thing that I'm pretty excited to share. Now, Everything that I've showed you was in the last release. Everything I showed you was in the 2.0 release that is in the store. You can go to the store and upgrade one of your instances to that version today. Happy to help. Reach out to us if you have questions about doing that. We're happy to talk to you about how to go about doing that. I do want to demonstrate something that's coming next to give you a little taste of what to look for and ask questions about as you talk to various people from our team. I'm going to go ahead and go into this AI enhanced SLA report in the viewer. Now, we saw this chart in this report previously, where I have a combo chart, I have a target on the SLAs, and I have some data down here that is just counts. One thing that typically happens in a situation like this is customers, stakeholders, you look at the chart and you're like, this is an interesting number, 194 SLAs this year, but you have questions about what that 194 means. What you can see here, and I would need to improve the styling a little bit here, but what you can see here is this has a little icon here, which identifies it as an AI insight chart. So I added an AI insight to this. If I click that, this insight has already been generated. So I can see that I have some AI tools here that have went and actually looked at all of the data that was available to it and then came up with the summary here, the insight here. I could download that as a PDF. It will give me the chart that it comes from and then also the summary that's here. Also, there's context here. So this data that creates a summary is more than just the 194. And I'll show you that here in a second. But one thing that you can do is you can click on the summary here and it will show you the data that was used to generate that summary in addition to the agent that was applied to it. And it will also allow you to download that data so that you could see it as a CSV file if you want to know the context more. So again, like a number 194 is interesting, it has value, but there's always the question of what, why, when, and adding AI agents to the chart allows you to start answering those in the space of the report itself. So let's go into this really quickly. And I know we're running right on time towards the end here. So I'm going to show quickly what that looks like to add an agent to a chart. And then we'll end for the day. So here's the chart that I added it to. I'll click on it. I'll go into my styles and you have a new option here on this chart type called Chart Insights. I have the ability to add an agent. This is the one that I had just showed you the output of. When I want to, I can add, I have two agent options here. And then when I add it, it would be added to that. So let's go ahead and add, let's see, I have summary, I'll add the highlights. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Okay, we'll check this out. So I got chart insights, I got my two agents. I'm going to hit publish. Oh, we'll save it again. Going to hit publish. We're going to go back out into the viewer. Now, one thing that is true is because the data and everything has changed, I add another agent to this. I'm going to hit that. We're going to go ahead, and because the data underneath it changed, the insights need to be updated. So we can hit generate insights. The agents are looking at the data that's presented to them that they have available to, going through, and in this case, they are now going to create a summary. They're also going to create a list of highlights about this chart. So again, this is something that we're working on. We've shown to a few customers and look forward to getting this in front of others. So again, you can see this. You can download this as a PDF. You can look at the data that it's used, etc. So excited about this and happy to bring it to you in the near future. So I know we're right at the time. I'll hang on for a couple more minutes. if people have questions. Otherwise, thanks for joining today, and I appreciate you taking interest in the 2.0 release. Again, if there's any interest in upgrading or purchasing or getting access to the 2.0 release, happy to take any queries directly.